Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Food, Wine, and Whiskey in Your Own Backyard. I am Rob, your host, and my co-host Carter here as always. Carter, how you doing?
I am great, man. How are you?
Good. Another good, fun conversation coming up today.
Yeah, very. So we're getting into the world of brandy again, and we're going to be talking to somebody. I guess at minimum we could say is a very interesting guy.
No doubt about it. Interesting, and boy, I'm trying to think of another adjective to describe him. I don't know, something that's more profound that makes you go, what? Wow.
Yeah, I mean, like, he's definitely done a lot of things that I can say that I haven't done.
Yeah, we'll get into it in the show, but he's been on some TV shows. We'll talk about that. He's been politically involved.
Yeah.
He's obviously in the world of spirits and things like that. So lot going on with this gentleman. I mean, not even 50 yet, and he's done some really cool stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
And we might as well say the name if you've seen the title of this episode. It's Raj Bhakta, and if you don't know who Raj Bhakta is, he's the founder and former owner of Whistle Pig Whiskey. Now he has his own brand, which is Bhakta Spirits, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. Be a fun conversation, but before we do that, we wanted to take a second, Carter, and say thank you to all of our listeners, all our supporters. We really appreciate those who check in every week and a half when we put an episode out and listen to what we're doing.
Yeah. I mean, I've got to say, personal thank you for to everybody who listens. This is a lot of fun for us, and we hope you're enjoying it because we sure are. And come, listen to the show, whether you listen to the podcast, whether you're starting to check out our YouTube a little bit, if you're participating in the social media, either on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram. We just overall just really appreciate you, actively participating in the community and listening to the show and you keep listening, we're going to keep doing the show. Yeah,
and we appreciate that, like you said, and all of those social media outlets, same name, Food, Wine, and Whiskey in Your Own Backyard. That's where you can find us. We are starting to try to get some more content and ramp up the YouTube. So you guys who like to listen to the show, in the next coming weeks, you'll start to see some content regularly coming out on YouTube as well. So we appreciate the support there. And, we really enjoy what we do. We have regular jobs. We have 9 to 5s, not really 9 to 5s. We're in sales. But, we work during the week.
Mine's like 7 to 9.
Mine's like whenever an email comes in and the phone rings.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be Sunday, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But, we love doing this. This is our passion. We love food. We love wine, whiskey, coffee, anything related to those kind of things. And we'd like to grow what we're doing. So if you've got friends and family that like this kind of content as well, push them this way. Tell them to come check it out. Hopefully they'll like it and come start listening to us as well. We'd really appreciate that. We try to have fun. We try to put out some episodes that, keep you engaged, make you laugh a little bit, but we try to give some information as well. And I think we're doing a pretty good job of that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And if, I'll add this, if you've got some ideas, like something you want us to cover in the world of food, wine, and whiskey, throw out a suggestion. We're happy to explore the idea. I mean, we want to give you guys what you want,
Oh, absolutely. And, we don't always have the best ideas or don't think of something that we should do, and somebody else has an idea. We love to hear those things.
Oh, yeah,
so, absolutely.
For sure.
All right. Well, what do you say? Should we get ready to have some fun with Raj?
Yeah, definitely. Let's go.
We are live and recording, so welcome to the show. We appreciate you coming in and joining us this afternoon.
Great to be here, gentlemen. What are we talking about?
And we like how you come in and participate. Man's got a cigar in his mouth and a little whiskey in his hand.
I mean, he looks dapper as hell.
I'm a very dapper man.
I don't know that we've ever had anybody on the show with suit and tie before.
Not on our show.
No. I've seen pictures of people like that.
I was hoping he would wear his, signature bow tie.
Oh, you know what? That damn bow tie. I got so much. I wore the bow tie on The Apprentice, and then it became the bane of me. I think it's like what happened to Tucker Carlson. I was like, what about the bow tie? What about the bow tie? So I ditched the bow tie.
Did he ask you?
It became
awesome.
like an oppressive instrument to me. I began to become defined by a bow tie, and I couldn't have that.
So I feel like, Raj, the next wine dinner I have at the house, I need to make sure you're here. I feel like I've stalked you the last 2 weeks. I know you so well that, we should be like really good friends by now or something. I don't know if you feel the same, if you could kind of tell that I was just
deep dive,
stalking.
Oh, so that's it. We were going on the 1976 vintage, right?
That's exactly right.
Yeah. I did.
Hey, we actually have a bottle of 1961 Bordeaux we need to open up and
Yeah, we do.
and drink.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Are you a wine guy as well as spirits?
I have a lot of really good friends who are into wine, and they generally pick the bottles out, and I drink it, and they're good. But I'm not really into wine. No, I mean, spirits is my thing. I like good wine, and I can taste when something's good and something's bad, but I'm not into it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're one of the more interesting people. I'm trying to think of a better adjective to describe you, because you are. I don't want to say like eccentric. I don't know what the adjective is I'm looking for. But I mean, you're a gentleman who was, like you said, on The Apprentice. You've ran for public office for Congress. You rode an elephant down here in Texas on the Rio Grande. You started Whistle Pig Whiskey. Founder of that, and now we're on to Bhakta Spirits. I mean, your life is full of adventure.
Let it continue, sir. Thank you for those kind words.
Absolutely.
It's caused some gray hair, actually, in the process. But, yeah, I had a great time down there taking that elephant across the Rio Grande. There's a really good backstory, but I'll have to tell you that in person because it's slightly inappropriate.
Gotcha. Well, next time you bring an elephant to Texas, let us know. I've never ridden one.
Yeah, me either.
There was somebody who wrote when I was doing that Raj messes with elephants in Texas. But I think that might have been a piece put up by my opponent, as I somehow offended Texas by coming there and riding an elephant across the Rio Grande.
Not at all. I mean,
sounds like a very
smiling.
Texan move, right? I mean, that's like
yeah, absolutely.
You had mariachis at the end of it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's that was great.
You want to hear backstory to that? So the mariachi band. So I'm running for Congress in 2006. I'm there. I'm pretty hungover from the night before. I was in Mexico until the very late night, early morning in Matamoros the night before. I go back over to Brownsville on short notice. I get on the elephant. The elephant nearly falls into the water. Actually, the elephant does fall into the water. We get the elephant out. It's, I get the word that Border Control has figured out that we're there and they're on the way. And my campaign manager comes up and goes, "Boss, you got to get out of here." The mariachi band, I don't know whether it was a 12-piece or a 16-piece mariachi band, they're all illegals. So you got a Republican running for Congress in 2006, making a point about border security with illegal immigrant mariachi band. I was like, oh shit. Anyway,
That's a great story.
Well, I mean, they were on the Mexico side, right?
yeah, we could have just. But I don't think getting back would have been the issue. No, we were on the American side.
Okay. But yeah, that's funny. But I guess we got introduced to each other. I guess you were at Spirits Convention there in Louisville.
No, I'm doing Bhakta now, which this is the bottle. It's filled with water, but
yeah.
I'm doing a bourbon, and I was kind of just checking out the experiences that the different houses have to offer there on the Bourbon Trail for a consumer experience.
What did you like the best?
I went to this one guy who I really thought gave the best experience, and it was, Bourbon 30. Bourbon 30. He has got a little place, maybe the size of literally this room that I'm in here, and he's got barrels out and greets you with a lot of enthusiasm, very authentic experience, pulls out from the different barrels and gives you a really cool tasting experience. Of all the places that I went to, that was the most real and the most authentic.
Oh, that's cool.
Pretty cool.
That's cool.
Wasn't one of those like, let's say corporate type experiences that was come up with by conjured by marketing professionals. How did you enjoy the Michter's experience, Carter? Carter, right?
Yeah, yeah. I'm going to be completely honest. I didn't do the experience. I was there to get the pull your own Michter straight from the barrel rye there, and that's why I was waiting out front.
Yeah.
Of that distillery.
You
that
probably
day.
thought I was nuts when I was up there. Yeah. I'm checking this thing out, and yeah.
Well, you know what? I was like, so I gotta be honest. When you told me who you were, I was like,
bullshit.
This guy, there's no way. And then I looked you up, and I was like, oh shit, this guy, this is the guy. But no, it was great getting that connection because ironically, you came up to somebody who co-hosts a podcast and does a bunch of barrel picks and is really active in the spirits and wine community here in Houston. And so, hey, serendipity, I guess.
Well, that's what happens when you're good people talking to other good people and just having a good chit chat, and for all the right reasons. Sometimes good things happen out of as a result, and I'm glad to be here.
Absolutely, yeah. Nice meeting you too. But
I do want to mention one thing that I really found out about you, or was very obvious about you, Raj, was the fact, and I'll say this with you knowing that I'm former military. And I really appreciate, and it is extremely noticeable, how much you love America, how patriotic you are. I mean, I hope all people are, but most people don't express that as much as you do.
Yeah.
And the things that I've watched and seen about you and how you always, have that out in front, I just really respect that and appreciate that. So I wanted to just kind of mention that to you.
Well, thank you, Robin. Thank you for your service to this great country. I think that immigrants, my father came from India and my mother came from Ireland, and I had a very unique perspective listening to their stories of just how great America is. And I think a lot of Americans forget about it, and what kids are certainly learning in school is not about what makes this country great and exceptional, but rather what all of its problems. And it kind of disturbs me when I think about it. When in fact my wife, we started our own school for our 4 kids here, because I thank God I have got enough. I have the wherewithal. We're on a college campus, and we didn't want our kids going to school where they're taught to feel guilty and horrible about the greatest country in the history of the world. So I'm glad that comes across, and this is the greatest place on earth, and thank God I'm here.
Yeah. Really happy to have you.
And I love that you still, you still pay honor to your heritage and where your family's from in India, and I think that's great as well. I mean, you can have both. That's what's beautiful about America. I love the melting pot that we are, and all the different cultures. And here in Houston, I'm
you
sure
get a lot of
it's
that.
It's the most diverse city in the world, and I absolutely love all the different cultures and food that comes along with being able to experience those things. So
yeah, we're fortunate here. We get to partake in a lot of different cuisines from all over the world. So your mother's Irish, so I actually play Irish music as a hobby.
Is that right?
Yeah, so
in a band,
traditional Irish music.
Nice.
So yeah, I don't know if she's into that sort of thing. A lot of people from Ireland just, that's old timey stuff. They don't like that, So I don't know if she's into it though. I mean, I love it.
Well, we'll have you come up to the college one day, maybe in exchange for some really great old spirits of various sorts and some old Bhakta you can regale us.
Okay, I can do that.
I'll try to dance a jig.
There you go.
Well, let's jump in, Raj, to kind of how we got to where we are today. The journey for Raj when we think about that, you started in the spirits world, you started Whistle Pig, and that was in 2007, wasn't it?
I bought the farm that I called Whistle Pig Farm in 2007. We first released product out on the 4th of July of 2010.
2010. Okay.
Oh, that's cool.
Where did your love for American whiskey, bourbon, cognac, the spirits world, where did that come from? I mean, you don't just say, I'm going to get into whiskey. You obviously had a passion for this long before deciding to do that, I'm guessing.
Yeah. I think that's probably the Irish side, a big love of drink, since.
Do Irish drink?
Yeah. Have you heard of that? I mean,
Yeah.
News to me.
Yeah, how about that?
Weird.
Did you hear about that? But I always loved alcohol, particularly spirits, and it began with whiskey. First drink I ever had, I think I was 18 years old. My parents were away, and I pulled out some Johnny Walker Black, which is actually a perfectly serviceable whiskey, and drank it. And I think after that, I was on the whiskey train. By the time I was in college, I was part of the some bourbon society, the American Bourbon Society. I was getting newsletters about different interesting new bourbons. This was like when nobody was doing that. So I went from first drinks of scotch, and then I had a lot of international friends, and I didn't want to be drinking scotch, and I wanted to drink something American in front of them. So I got into bourbon. Then I kind of got tired of bourbon, but I feel like tastes evolve, and what you like something for a while, your taste buds change, or you just get sick of something, you're looking for something new. And then I got more into scotch again. I went through a long phase of being in love with Lagavulin and Oban, and those really smoky scotches. Then got back. This is probably I don't know, right around when I was running for Congress, 2005, 2006 Apprentice Congress time. I started getting back into bourbons again, and then I had the idea. So I bought this farm in 2000. I lose the race for Congress in 2006. In 2007, I buy the farm. And around 2008, then the economy tanks, right? So now I'm kind of broke and need to figure out how to make the farm work. And it strikes me that I should make alcohol on the farm because I can grow grain, and that's what you start with the whiskey. And I discovered rye, and that was a taste profile that I really loved, because it had more flavor than a bourbon. It was spicier than bourbon. And I said, okay, well, this is an undiscovered category. Rye at the time was a kind of a dead category. It was like your drunk uncle's drink, dead, drunk, broke uncle's drink. But it was for no good reason. I thought rye had everything that people were looking for in a brown spirit, in whiskey. Saw an opportunity in American whiskey, and basically that led to the creation of Whistlepig. And I partnered with Dave Pickerel, God rest his soul, who was master distiller, just leaving his master distiller of Maker's Mark. And I was talking to Dave about building a distillery. He was doing some consulting at the time, and he liked the idea. In fact, he was a fan of The Apprentice. And I invited him up to come and visit the farm, which was a complete piece of shit at the time. If a toothless guy in his underwear with a shotgun opened the door, you wouldn't be surprised. That's what the house looked like. But Dave had vision, and I had good entertainment for them there, and showed him around the place well, and we struck up a partnership, and that's what got Whistlepig going.
That is super cool. I mean, I'm a huge rye fan in general, just personally, and I think I'm kind of like you. I've tasted a lot of bourbon, and my tastes were like, what do I want to try that's different? So, I've leaned toward rye, but, kind of did like a bit of a deeper dive into rye. And if you really look at the history, rye was actually the first American spirit
whiskey, yeah.
the American whiskey that came to the country.
Yep.
Bourbon developed later.
Yeah.
And then corn subsidies and things like that happened and made rye a lot less economically sound to make.
That's right.
Oh, and easier to produce with corn.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm a big fan, and until Whistle Pig came out, I had never seen a high-end rye.
Yeah.
Really,
Didn't exist.
something marketed as that.
Yeah, it really didn't. It really didn't. Well, this point in the show, Raj, we want to let you know that when we do a show, we have guests on. People know you from what they can see about you in the news or in social media and things like that. But we like to ask 5 questions as we go through the show, just to kind of pull back the veil a little bit, get a little bit more about, what the personality is like and kind of what you like in life. And so we've come up with 5 questions to have you answer. I'm going to fire number 1 at you right now. You ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
What is your favorite 1980s movie?
Holy shit, that's a tough one.
We figured you'd be all right with this one. With you kind of not 50 yet, but you're in that age range where we think you've watched a lot of those.
I mean, God, the one the Top Gun is what pops to mind.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Solid choice.
The Top Gun is what pops to mind. I just got my son this old vintage Top Gun jacket that I saw in a store, so it was on my head. So I'll go with Top Gun. It's bad. It's not a bad choice.
No, not a bad choice at all. And what is it this year? I think the remake of that
finally coming out. Yeah. I think it was supposed to come out 2 years ago, but like all the crazy, COVID stuff or whatever.
I heard on that movie, before we get to that the Chinese who were part of funding that movie got like the American flag or something taken out of part of it and said or maybe they got the Japanese flag removed and put the Chinese one on it or something like that.
Is that right?
Yeah, China's like infiltrated Hollywood pretty bad. So I think
very bad.
You got to watch the original Top Gun.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I'm just curious. Most remakes to me don't hold up, or I'm not sure if this is a remake or if it's a.
It's kind of later on.
I think some of the stars are in it again, but I'm not sure it'll hold up. But,
yeah,
Top Gun from the '80s, absolutely.
But I think the genres. You had a lot of great movies in the '80s. You had like Indiana Jones. There were great James Bond films. There were good male role models in the '80s.
Oh yeah,
I agree.
There were great comedies in the '80s. They were great. They were just a host of. One that I remember liking as a kid growing up was Weird Science.
Yeah.
The number of times I tried to make a doll turn into a beautiful woman.
Oh man,
never worked.
Yeah.
So I married one.
It ended up with you staring at your hand anyway.
We had a close relationship. We still do.
Rosie, nice to meet you.
We've known each other a long time. We didn't just meet.
Oh man. Okay.
So,
well, I want to backtrack.
Okay, go ahead.
One just a little bit. On The Apprentice, because I was a huge fan of the show. And if you don't want to talk about The Apprentice, that's fine. You're probably worn out by that. But, how was it on the show? How was it like interacting with the other contestants? And how was it kind of interacting with Donald Trump? Did you guys just have much interaction there? Or was it just kind of the boardroom and you're done?
No, the Trump thing first. I spent a little time with him. I would talk to him about, so most people would go up there are a couple of layers to that question. So I'll start with the Trump stuff first. He would walk into where we were all staying. It was I don't know, it was the apartment that you stay in. Everybody's there, and it's kind of awful in many respects because you got cameras everywhere and all these type A personalities that are constantly competing. So you don't really have much downtime. But on the other hand, the characters in the show are really a lot of fun too. So it's just you didn't have a chance for a break in any quiet time. But Trump would come in and he would visit everybody, and people would go up to him and they would ask him Mr. Trump, what do you think about the economy? Do you think there's a housing bubble? This is 2006, and they're all really smart people, but I don't think he was really interested in talking about that. I would go up. Now, this is a different time, right? This is a different time. So this was less, it was kind of okay, Now it would get you into trouble, but I would go up and be like, Mr. Trump, who do you think like the best looking contestants are? And they'd be like, that one there is really good looking. I think that one's nice. Mr. Trump, I'm gonna get them all the good ones, and he'd be like, yeah, that's a very good idea, Raj. It's a very good idea. You should do it. And then we kind of developed a rapport around commenting on the other contestants, and that kind of broke the ice. Well, we were kind of doing a rating of the girls on the show, and he was more interested in doing that than talking about the economy.
Yeah.
So
probably.
overall, it was a kind of crazy experience because you go in basically off the street, and now it was the biggest show on TV at the time. It replaced Friends, right? So it was the number one show, and you kind of know that it's the number one show, and it brought in people for various reasons that basically wanted to be on TV. For me, it was a peace with honor exit from the family business. I wanted to get out of the family business, and this was a great excuse. And my love life sucked in Vail, where I was, because there are 7 guys to every 3 girls. This solves that because now I'm famous on TV, so that drastically improves one's chances with the opposite sex to a degree that's almost shocking. And number 2, like, it didn't have me running from the family business. And, I didn't have to leave like I had just, run from working with my dad, which was tough. But for different reasons, all these people wanted to get out and change things. And this was a big opportunity to be famous. And a lot of people went crazy, like literally nuts. I think I was insulated in my case in this case, like my gigantic ego was very helpful because I always thought I was famous, right? It was just in my own head. So actually being famous was in a way more like reality for my mind than being unknown. So I handled it well, but it was really interesting for me from a social perspective to see how people reacted to the fame. People went completely crazy, like these child stars, nuts. And but overall, it was a really cool experience. You meet really interesting people. It opened up a number of doors and met a lot of interesting people as a consequence of it. But it was one of those things that if you lost perspective that this is just a TV game show and really bought into this, the whole thing too much, you went nuts.
Yeah.
Is there anybody from the show that you became friends with that you're still friends with today?
Oh yeah, a number of them.
Oh, good. That's awesome.
Yeah, there are some great characters. I mean, if you actually I should do a reunion. I've got the college campus. I've got the room for it. I should do a reunion of the Apprentice characters because it's a lot of fun. I mean, really funny, charismatic people. They had the pick of the litter of the country. So,
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
I met a number of good friends out of it.
It was an awesome show. I mean, that was like right after I graduated from college. I was a single dude, and who knew I was going to like a reality TV show, but this thing was like, I was glued, I love it.
With Donald Trump.
Yeah. But, obviously the nation loved Donald Trump, and for the most part, a good number do still, but back then he was the coolest guy ever.
Yeah. Even in Hollywood.
Oh yeah. It's wild. But anyway, so we talked about, The Apprentice. We talked about it a little bit on the Whistle Pig. Maybe we'll touch on some of that stuff. But I want to talk about kind of what you got going on here, like what you guys going on now with Bhakta and Bhakta Spirits. How
did it come to be? How did you? I mean, to me, Matt Carter, it kind of is. You went from rye and whiskeys and things like that. And I don't know, Bhakta right now, I'm seeing a lot of brandy, and you just mentioned that you may be doing a bourbon as well. So you're not just going to do brandies, but you're going to just kind of tell us where that kind of came from, how you developed it, and kind of what the vision is for Bhakta, 5 years from now, 10 years from now.
Sure. So the short answer, Rob, is that what I look for, and what I found in rye whiskey, which built Whistle Pig, was looking at a category that was undeservedly unknown, right? That was basically in the shadows for no good reason. And I think most spectacularly, not I think, I know that the most spectacular find in the spirits world is Armagnac. Here is a place where, like, just in front of us, this is a simple bottle, a sample they've got of 1977. 1977 is how many years ago now? Is it, what, 45 years ago, something like that? That 44 years ago. Where else are you going to find? And this bottle can be bought. We haven't released the vintages, but you can get a bottle like this for probably $200-300. Of that kind of deep age statement. It tastes great. And so I was traveling in France. I ran Whistle Pig through the end of 2017, and I was the largest shareholder through 2019. But 2018, I realized that I was going to be leaving. There was a nasty control fight, and I sold to a private equity firm, corporate interests, and I realized I was going to be doing something again in spirit. So I had my eye out, and I was starting to buy. I had a couple of bucks in my pocket, so I started to buy some old barrels of rum. I started to buy some old barrels of whiskey. Generally, I found, most of the stones unturned in whiskey, and I found, bourbon in particular to be in a bit of a bubble. I still think it is. I think a lot of prices that people are paying are you can put it this way. Bourbon's a great category. I love bourbon, but you can do a lot better in a number of different categories. And I think most emblematic of that is Armagnac. So I was with my family in France, and my wife at the time, pregnant with baby number 4. It was nothing much, but she basically tires of me and tells me to get the hell out of the house. So I hopped in a car. I'd shipped over 2 Cadillacs. You Texans would like this. I shipped over 2 Cadillacs to France because I didn't like those small little French cars. And I wanted to show them like boss American style on the road. So I had an Escalade and a CTS V over there.
Nice.
And I rocket over to the Armagnac region, and I'm going over there, and there's a guy named Jonathan who's still he's my best salesman. I asked him to Google different Armagnac houses, and he tells me to go to this town. He tells me to put condom, CONDOM, into my Navi computer, right? I think he's fucking with me, right? I mean, condom, you're screwing me? Sure enough, there's a place called Condom France. And in Condom France, I find that in a stroke of luck that the guy with the oldest vintages in the world was interested in selling. Now, I had a couple of bad points in the negotiation process. Like, I pulled in this, big loud Cadillac blasting Be Our Guest because I thought it was like really fun. My kids are watching, Beauty and the Beast, that. So I've got that.
Yeah.
Be our guest, put our service to the test, tie a napkin around your neck, Shirley. So I've got that song blasting on the sound system as I pull into the 4 gates of his chateau, and they're sort of reverberating off the walls. So this hot rod Cadillac pulls in with the music blasting. I get out in like pink pants and just looking like that guy that an old, conservative French guy doesn't want to sell his jewels to. And that cost me a couple $1,000,000 right there. But he brings me into his cellars and shows me vintages. Now I'm shopping around for whiskey, right, and rum. And you get a 30, 40-year-old whiskey or rum, and you're off the charts old. He's got stuff that goes back every single vintage from 1868. My jaw drops. I mean, it's like you stare at a beautiful woman, you're shocked, your jaw drops, and you can't walk it back. same sort of thing happened to me. Like I saw this, I'm like, oh, and he saw me, and then that cost me some additional money because he knew that I wanted it, and I was extremely impressed. But I didn't see anything like this in the entire world of spirits. And then I began tasting it. Now, it's a little bit of a different taste profile, which we'll get into, because anytime you transition, like you were talking, Carter, that you move from one thing to another, normally that transition happens slowly. But Armagnac, when you get into it, it costs way more to make. It's way older, and it's the ultimate discovery in spirits. And the ability for people to purchase it at the, I would say, obscenely low prices that it's currently available at for the age is a short-lived opportunity. So I strongly recommend your listeners, like we haven't really released the vintages, but certainly with Bhakta 50, here's an opportunity for, $300-$400 to buy a spirit like I have in Bhakta 50, which is a blend from 1868 to 1970 with an average age in the mid 60s. So that's really what kind of beguiled me with the Armagnac story. I mean, it's virtually unknown to even your average high-end drinker in America.
Yeah, I'd agree. We recently had an episode actually talking about cognac, and I do think that you get quite a better value in Armagnac, like typically. So I mean, I think you're right on point there. But I mean, there are some cognacs that are also a little under the radar, not the big houses and things like that. And yeah, if you can find them, they're not bad either from the price perspective. But I have really enjoyed brandy in general, and this is more of a recent discovery.
If you guys haven't poured the 50 and the 77, you should probably get it into your glasses because it's really old and requires a little opening before we get into that.
Let's do it.
I'll say this, Raj. Yeah, go ahead.
No, nothing. Go.
I was going to say, one thing that I always enjoy about spirits and wine, and I think most people who really enjoy what's in the glass are similar. They enjoy the history behind it. Thinking about when you mentioned the dates that all the way back to 1860 or 1868, I think you said.
Yep.
We're talking about the Civil War ending and things like that, all the way up through the Great Recession and Prohibition and Civil Rights Movement, and all the way up into current times. To think that there's periods of time that what's in this bottle, liquid, came from those periods. I mean, to me, that's just part of the interest in the experience and the joy of drinking, whether it be wine or Armagnac or whiskeys, things like that, that you get to go back and kind of relive the history of those spirits. And it's a fun thing to do.
Well, that's central to it, Rob. I mean, think about it. This spirits that we're drinking here, it survived in Bhakta 50. It survived 2 German invasions, right? It survived the being sold or drank or looted or any of the things that could happen in between for over 150 years. I mean, it's unheard of if you think about it. I mean, we have in here, I want to get the vintage sheet up, but I'll just rattle off memory. We probably got 1868, 1904, 1924, 1934, 1952, 63, 64, and 1970 in there. Now, the youngest is now 52 years old from 1970, and the average age is somewhere in its mid-60s. So you have the whole history almost of the modern world. I mean, the Civil War had just ended in America. And by 1970, I mean, Richard Nixon is president. And in Europe, in the beginning of it, Queen Victoria is in the middle of the throne. The British Empire is at its height, and the French had an empire and was ruled by Emperor Napoleon III. I mean, it's
and 2 world wars, not to mention,
and 2 world wars in between.
I mean,
it's unbelievable.
It really is. It really
And
is.
we've
So
got
I just thought that was.
Think of the
Say again?
vintage 1933 and 34 that's in here, because one of the 2 years is in here. It's 33 or 34, and I'll find out before we end which year it was. But in 1933, Hitler comes to power, and FDR comes to power in America. I mean, where else are you able to get a drink that has anything like that? That's actually purchasable, because if you're buying a 20-year-old whiskey, I mean, it's going to cost you through the nose. And to think about that, while you're having a drink, pour a glass of Bhakta 50 and let yourself kind of be transported in time. I'll read you a section of the book. I'm going to scream, so I'm going to mute myself for 1 second.
Okay.
I scream to no avail. My thoughts are unheard. Can anybody hear me? That's what happens when you're in a library.
They were all like, the boss is smoking and drinking. We're off. Let's go.
Oh,
Off they went.
That's the sign.
Have you nosed this thing?
No, not yet. Have I what?
Have you nosed this thing? Yeah, that's right.
That's what she said.
Holy crap!
There's a lot going on.
Oh my gosh!
Which one do you have?
The 50 is
the
what
50.
I'm like putting my nose up to. Holy moly! That is. I mean, the 77 is no slouch, but the 50 is it's punching.
What I did here with the 50-year-old is I think we combined the best elements of the oldest spirits that basically you're ever going to be able to touch for the vast majority of mankind. And put a little bit of a smoky, a little pinch of smoke with an Isla cask finish. So you probably pick a little bit up on the nose. It's a light kiss of it. But you have, all of the
you do.
tasting notes that you get in a deeply aged product. Your deep, rich, dried fruits note, a lot of earth. Of course, you get the vanilla from the barrel, but there's a lot going on.
Yeah, it's impressive just on the nose.
Oh yeah.
Now, if we take this thing now, and then we can go to the other ones and come back and take a taste of this in 5 minutes, you'll notice it opens up and actually gets a lot richer and mellower.
So are you okay if we ask you a little bit more about the process of making this 50? You mentioned the multiple vintages that are in there, and how did you come to that we're going to blend not just 3, but we're going to have 7 or 8 or whatever that final number was? How did you figure out that? What was the idea of, kind of going through time like that? Was that kind of, the stops along the way, or was it just this was what ended up being the really good product that we wanted when we were kind of playing around with these?
Well, first, in terms, we have 8 different vintages.
8 different.
All about 8. Can't be 7. It's got to be 8.
Gotcha.
Not 7, 8. So 8's the lucky number when you're coming up with vintages. And what I wanted to do was find, now the bulk of it is the 70-year-old. I mean, this is the 1970s. So, 85% of the blend is the 1970. And then we try to take there's 1946 in here. So 1946, for example, has never been taken out of wood. It's extremely rich. And it would be like foie gras, just eating a lot of it straight. It's extremely rich. So we put a little of 46 because that widens it and gives it some more mouthfeel and viscosity. Believe it or not, the 1868 is very light. You would think that something that old is going to be very musty. It's very light because in Armagnac, you normally age your spirit between 35 and 75 years. And then you take it out and you put it in glass, in what they call bonbons. And that it continues to basically oxygenate and that generally mellows out your flavor profile over time. So we took these different vintages that we wanted to bring from, I wanted to put a little bit of pre-19th century stuff, and there's something from the 1800s, and get something mostly from the different decades, every couple of decades, putting it in as a march through time. The 24 that's in here is remarkably, it's very light, kind of like the 1868. I would say it's a little less rich than the 68. And then also and the 46 and the 62, 63 years are extremely full-bodied and rich, even more so than the 1970, because those never touched. So 50 years in wood makes it extremely earthy. 75 years in wood makes it even more so. So we balanced those elements out, and each barrel is a little different, right? So what you want to do here, if you're a collector of these things, this is barrel 21. There are only 38 barrels released. So we have this thing called the Odyssey set. I should have had that. Can anybody hear me? Hello? Yeah, Leo, can I get the little red book and that Odyssey set? I've got a couple of them sitting over there so I can show these guys. Thank you. And you can pick up different barrels. So you'll get different notes in each of the different barrels.
Definitely get the Scotch barrel on this. Tasting it.
I haven't tried it.
Oh, I just tried it.
Which one? The 50?
Yeah.
I haven't even tried it yet. I've just been nosing it, and it smells awesome.
Do you like that? Do you like Scotch, Rob?
I do, and I'll be honest with you, it's something in the last year that I've gotten more into. I've been a wine guy for a long time. The bourbon bug hit me probably 5 or 6 years ago, and at that time, didn't like Scotch. Tried it, didn't want anything to do with it. But over the last year and a half or so, not only the sweeter Scotches, but even the peated Scotches now, I've gotten to where I enjoy those. So it's not something I'm real familiar with and don't have a lot of experience in, but starting to go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of... Oh, go ahead.
You don't know.
I've seen a lot of... Scotch is finished in, various things, like port barrels or sherry barrels, or I guess there's probably some cognac aged Scotch out there somewhere, or brandy. But, you kind of took the reverse approach.
Well, you know where this came from? You guys are familiar with the Boss Hog line of Whistle Pig, the high-end line?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So the best one that ever came out, in my opinion, was number 1 and number 4. Number 4 is called the Black Prince. And number 4
familiar.
Was finished in Armagnac casks. And that's what kind of got my head going years ago. I think that we released that in 2015, maybe, the Black Prince. Maybe 16. That kind of got me interested in Armagnac, but we just did the reverse. We took now whiskey we took Armagnac and finished it in a whiskey barrel, and it's kind of the reverse of what we did with the Black Prince, which is probably the best Boss Hog ever released.
So what's the rule?
Of the smoke and the sweetness. Little hint of smoke with the sweetness of the Armagnac brandy.
Oh, no doubt. It's absolutely there. And it is a nice, they marry well together. I like both of those as well. And it's not something, is it common for Armagnac to be finished in a Scotch barrel? I don't know that I've seen that. Yeah, I've never seen that.
No, very uncommon. And the purists hate it. Like if you go on to, some of the Gestapo, the Armagnac Gestapo purists, they hate any kind of innovation. But, how do you say in the South? Bless their souls.
Bless your little heart.
Bless your heart. There you go.
Yeah.
Jumping around, what I was showing is this thing. So we've got these different barrels that you can get that come in these. You can order them online, where you get to taste the different barrels in 50 mLs. And so the one that we're tasting is Earhart, after Amelia Earhart. And then the one after that is Patton, which I'm excited about. And then after that is Morgan. So you can, ideally you get a couple of these together and you try your different barrels out next to one another. Forgive me. Go ahead.
No, I think that's that's one of the thing. Again, you're getting back to the story behind things, and when you drink a good, whiskey, whatever it is, Scotch or bourbon or even a wine, Armagnac, whatever it is, when you like something, you want to find out more about it. And I love that you have these stories, and there's things that were, history kind of related that went into the thought process of how you named these things and what they are and where they came from. And I love that about, when you enjoy wine or spirits, that you can kind of have that journey.
So on this 1977, just a quick question. Sorry about that.
Go.
The 1977, is it finished?
No. So this is pure Armagnac, unfinished in anything. And we can switch to that. We can switch to that next. Did you guys get this Burgundy book?
We did not.
Oh, okay.
No.
So we should have sent that to you, but this contains a couple of gems about the 50 year that we're tasting. Slumbering Spirits, 1868 to 1970. The age statement on this bottle could be given not in terms of years, but in terms of generations. The oldest grapes were harvested in 1867 and were crushed in wooden vats by the nimble feet of French children whose grandchildren are now themselves dead and gone. Let that sink in for a moment. Now let us imagine their world. The planet was dominated by European kings and emperors whose forefathers had long ago ascended the greasy pole of power. Only in our hemisphere, under the talons of a tough young American republic and its bold Monroe Doctrine, was free of European domination. And it goes on. This brandy was nurtured for generations by a patient, eccentric, and well-capitalized family of collectors in France. There are a couple other pieces that I would have... The existence of these vintages are truly... miraculous. That's kind of what we were talking about before. What you now possess is perhaps the rarest drink known to mankind. Armagnac brandy kissed by smoky Scotch casks. Over 5 generations, as empires rose and fell, this brandy has slumbered. It represents an opportunity to taste time and ages past through a liquid whose very existence is miraculous. This is my literary debut, gentlemen.
Yeah.
If you wrote that, well done.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm intrigued and engaged in hearing that. I'm like, wow,
that's cool.
Yeah, I'm picturing these little kids in France stomping those grapes.
Yeah,
it's wild.
1977, shall we?
So when you get a bottle of the 50-year Bhakta, that book is always in there?
Yeah, the book comes along with it, and it's kind of great reading, and it ends, in my opinion, I'm biased, but it's good reading. Like, it ends, and it was during the pandemic that we wrote this, and it kind of a message in the bottle and our mission. I'll cut to it. A Bhakta 50. This was like when the thing was coming out, the bug in the beginning, and it was quite scary. For those couple of months or a month or even a couple of weeks, and it literally had no idea. Bhakta 50 reminds us of the indomitable human spirit, of our stunning resilience. Humanity has gone through much worse, and I'm talking about the virus. The Black Plague wiped out 1 in 3. The world wars, the Great Depression, the Spanish flu, which killed 50 million. But here we remain. This pandemic provides an opportunity, if we seek it, for an American revival, a chance to accomplish great things again, to make awesome things at home. This is our mission. I pledge that we will make everything that goes into this fine bottle of spirits right here in America and in France. I have canceled orders for our packing boxes from China. Instead, we are making them the old-fashioned way, on our farm from our own trees. No shit. This sacrifice of immediate profitability is an investment in America. I hope to inspire other businesses to to take the long view and do it and do the same. Whether it be our industrial base, our unity as a people, our sense of being a great and just nation, We have lost nothing that cannot be rebuilt. The history of peoples and nations contained in this bottle show this. No setback is final so long as the flame of revival remains alive. Great trials and tragedies are followed by periods of rebirth, renaissance, and revival. If only people refuse to become divided or see themselves as victims, we can rewrite our future, each of us. We can turn history's darkest moments into her brightest. This bottle is a monument to revival. The spirits herein were born, lived, and were forgotten. Long have they lain in the cave. Now they are arisen. They say we cannot buy time, but here is an exception. Time in a bottle and all the wisdom that comes with it. So look up to the heavens, to personal ennoblement, to the revival of our country and our civilization. Where we look, so shall we go. There has never been a better time to be alive. Bhakta is about revival of good and ancient spirits, and may this one revive yours. I should have ended with that. That's good, huh?
Yeah, that's awesome. Wow, I wanted to stand up and clap.
Yeah, heck yeah. Do you really make the boxes out of trees that are from the farm?
We did for we did for a period of 6 months, and then we basically ran out of the cedar trees that I was using. I had to wait for the next crop.
Okay,
but we did.
Now, we know.
So the original Bhaktas for the original barrels came out, but it was let's say that the making the boxes was tough. But we did. And we did it to get through because I needed it. Now we get them made in America now. We did it for a while in France, but they're not coming from China.
Okay.
So what's the vision? Will you continue to go find old barrels and then bring it over and blend those with what you've planted? Because I know you've planted vines that eventually, and I know it'll be years, but eventually will be cognac, Armagnac, brandy.
Yeah. So the answer is we're going to continue to purchase in Armagnac, but we're also going to bring production over here to America. And that's what I did at Whistlepig. We started with Canadian whiskey and then we brought production over here. That'll take years. I believe that anybody who's really in the business in a serious way should not just make the product, but they should make it actually from the earth, from the product, and be farmers of what they're making, because it all starts in the ground, with a seed, and you kind of you learn something about life in that process. So it's happening here, and the first release of our own product, we'll harvest for the first year. We planted 3 years ago. We'll harvest for the first year this year. Put the first product into a barrel this coming fall, and I don't know. 5 years after that, we could probably do a limited release. It'll be tasty enough at 5 years old to put a couple of bottles out.
Okay. So it's kind of that you're yielding fruit, and you kind of do the vines the same as they would with wine. They wait about 4 years before the fruit is ready to harvest, and you do the same thing. Now, when you put that first out, will it be blended, or is this going to be just strictly your product?
I don't know. I think it depends how... I think it's going to depend on how I'm probably going to put it into American oak and then ship it down to the ranch in Florida to supercharge the aging a bit so I can get it out, faster, because, in 50 years I'll be dead.
Yeah. You'd like to taste a little of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think that's decadent. That's not too selfish or decadent, is it? I think that's okay.
Not at all. Yeah, I mean, you're putting your fingers in the dirt and doing the work. You ought to see the results.
Yeah, for sure.
I take my tie off for that, by the way.
Do you really?
Yeah, I take my tie off sometimes.
Hey, I'm not going to lie. I've watched you on several social media and even on some, news programming that you've been on. And this is the first time I've seen you in a tie.
Yeah, it's cold.
Even on the elephant, you didn't have a tie.
Yeah.
It's the necktie actually was created for warmth, and
I did not know that.
Yeah, because it keeps it's kind of like a turtleneck. It keeps the heat in.
Yeah.
So
I could see that. For sure. So 1977. Tell us about this.
So 77 is actually a very rare vintage. This is going to be my first real tasting of this, so we'll taste this thing together. Single vintage, wood all of its life. This is a nice, well-rounded, old. Probably needs a little opening up. Medium viscosity, not particularly oily. Well-balanced. Pretty quick finish, no?
Pretty quick finish.
Yeah.
Nothing like that 50-year-old finish.
Yeah.
But still, very good.
Yeah, very nice stuff. I would say
Has more of the chocolate notes to it, cocoa
lot of
powder,
chocolate,
things like
that's right.
that. Yeah.
A lot of chocolate in this.
Mm.
You get the chocolate, and I don't know whether it's the cigar, but I get the tobacco as well.
Mm-hmm.
I can see that.
Yeah, for sure. I find it quite enjoyable. I mean, it's good.
No, 77 is lovely. 77 is lovely. I mean, the thing with the single vintages is you get to pick like kind of elements of of palate that you'll enjoy, and you taste each of these. I mean, to me, for if you're going to collect vintages, right? Because they're pieces of history. If we think of American history, 1977, what Jimmy Carter was in his glorious reign. And,
Inflation.
Yeah, you had inflation. This wasn't the best time, but I think if you brought some people back from 1977, they'd be like, "Holy shit, we'll go back to 77."
That's funny.
But can you imagine? I'm 45 years old, right? You're tasting a particular vintage, and this is great, superb tasting spirit. And here's the thing that I would say to like your whiskey drinkers and people who are in transition. That sounds funny to say today now, even that's a weird term. Look, nobody drank their first drink of whiskey or spirit at the age of 18 and went, wow, this is the best stuff on earth. This is an acquired taste. And my recommendation to people as it relates to Bhakta is start tasting it and develop a taste for something different. And to me, this is the absolute pinnacle of spirits. And I'll tell you why. To produce, and Rob, wine, right? So you plant a vineyard. To plant an acre of rye cost me about $500-$600. And I have my harvest in 6 months. You plant in the fall and harvest in the spring. Corn is less. And juxtapose that to an acre of orchard. That acre of orchard cost me about $20,000 to plant. Then I have to wait 4 years, 3, 4, 5 years, depending on the thing, to harvest. And in the meanwhile, you have to put a lot of labor into pruning that vine to be able to create the trellis system, and that goes ongoing. The result of that is to produce a gallon or whatever a glass, whatever, it's 5 times more to make cost to make Armagnac than it is to produce a bourbon. So start with that, and then imagine that you're aging it, multiples longer. So you're just drinking something that the market doesn't recognize yet, but is a way more rich spirit. And then you think about it from another perspective. If I put a handful of grain in front of you, and look, I love whiskey. I mean, I love whiskey. I'm not bad-mouthing whiskey. I'm just giving you an idea here. You put a bundle of rye or a bundle of corn in front of you, and then a bundle of grapes or apples, and we'll taste the apple one next. Which one do you want to eat? It's it's just, one is just a finer, more perfect product to start with. That's way more expensive to make. And since I mentioned apples, should we try this 2707? This I strongly recommend that people, this is a price point. I think you can probably get it online now. It's been a very limited release, but there might be a couple of retailers, if you Google it, that have it. But this, what I call Giles's Folly. So this is meant to be labeled as 2707. It's meant to be 27 to say it's 27 years at its max and 7 years at its youngest. But in fact, this product which is out is actually 49 years at its oldest and 18 years at its youngest. So it's actually way older, and we're selling it for 80 because anyway, we didn't realize we had this packaging screw up. It should be 80, 90 bucks online. Maybe you could get a 70 at a couple places. I saw it online. We had told them to raise the price because they didn't know what they were doing. But here's an amazing product that combines Calvados, which is from Normandy in the northwest region of France, and Armagnac with a really quick smoky cask finish. And now on the nose, you know, you'll see the apple pop right out, right?
Really like
it. Yeah, that's nice.
And this, because that sweetness, you put this in front of a bourbon drinker, and this is a great, you know, this is something that's an easy step, right? Very
easy transition.
Easy transition.
Yeah, you were telling me you were transitioning.
Yes, almost there.
Did you get your testicularly dissolving drugs yet? That
not yet. They're on order. Okay, I do have a question to you for you. Being a wine guy and thinking about that, you're planting these vineyards up in the Northeast.
Oh wow!
And we think about with wine, you know, when the buds come in spring, all the way through the growing season, we're trying to get a certain level of sugar into the grape. Your growing season, you know, is going to be short, but do you reach temperatures where you're going to get the amount of sugar that you're going to want in those grapes? I'm guessing you've done the research and you will. So it's interesting to me that you're going to get that up there.
We have so if you want a drinking wine, you generally don't want too much acidity. But if you're distilling a wine and making a brandy, you do want the acidity because that's what keeps it stable for a longer period of time, and it produces a better product in the end. So yes, we get if we get a good, hot, solid, dry month up here in Vermont where we're able to get the sugars up, and everything that I have heard is that, you know, we get some decent, I would say, drinking wine, certainly very serviceable, probably not, you know, it's not going to compete with your best wines from California or the West Coast or Europe, but a very, very good wine. But my understanding is, my best research indicates that this is the best area for growing brandy distillation grapes because we're going to have a highly acidic product. So I'll be able to tell you with greater certainty, you know, this fall, but everything seems to be looking great. The vines seem to be growing really well. I'm enjoying, you know, tending the vines. It's kind of like a I don't know, a meditative process. You go in.
I was going to say therapeutic.
Yeah. It's really nice. And you kind of see how nature works. You know, you think you clipped a vine and it's going to kill the plant, but it comes back and grows a different way. You know, it's like life goes on.
Now, how much do you guys have to worry about wildlife and, you know, coming in and eating some of that fruit?
Well, the main thing with wildlife is when it gets really cold up here in winter, they like to burrow in because we put we build little mounds around the vines, and they come in and they chew the what do you call it? The tree, the root, and that's the thing you need to keep your eye out for from a wildlife perspective. I haven't had any deer coming after but you know, I got a couple of old guys, and if that starts happening, we'll have some venison.
There you go. That's good eating right there. So here's my next question related to that process. What size barrels are you going to put this in? If you're talking about shipping this down to Florida to kind of, you know, expedite the process, are these going to be in smaller barrels? Are you going to go 53 or are you going to go bigger?
I think we'll put them in standard American 53 gallon with, you know, some medium and some heavy char new oak.
Okay.
You know, and then I'll put some in some of our Armagnac casks, which are 100 gallon, 400 liter French oaks. So I'm a big believer in, experimenting heavily with wood. I did that at Whistle Pig with Boss Hogg, and there's a thing called the Old World and all those kinds of things
Hmm.
where, we had the biggest barrel experimentation program for a company of its size, and that's vastly increased now with what I'm doing. So we'll have it in a variety of different things, but the bulk, at least for the first one, Rob, I want to get aged pretty quickly to see what we're playing with.
Sure.
Yeah. No, that's cool. Very cool. I mean, I think a lot of people are starting to, finish things and different types of wood barrels and that kind of thing. And I'm all for it. I mean, let's,
Oh, yeah.
I like peanut butter and jelly, but, I need some, I need some variety in my life.
Oh, absolutely. And wood is such a great way to do that. I mean, we'll see what we get out of maple. The Hungarian. There was something that I was getting out of Hungary, and I forget the type of wood it was. But
It
I
wasn't
think it's
oak. It was something else.
yeah, it was. I don't want to say mulberry. Maybe it was mulberry. I don't know. I'm going to
That's
screw it
interesting.
up. It's what they age some of their brandies in, but I think we should take the most, from all sorts of wood from all around the world and see what you get.
Yeah.
And if it's really bad, you don't go deep into something totally new. Stick with, oak. We know works really well, but it's for a number of different reasons. But it's where you get most of your flavor. So why not, try a whole bunch of things as long as it's not like gimmicky.
Yeah, I love that you're being, innovative, because I love in the wine world that, it was always for so many years, just French oak that was thought to be the best oak to use. But now so many of them are doing a lot of the things in American oak. And even some now are, when they have the cooperages build the barrels, they're doing a blend of, American oak and French oak, and getting a product out of that's uniquely different. One of the wineries that we like to go visit when we're in Napa, they say you're going to taste 7 wines when you do the tasting and you go through the caves, but you actually end up tasting 14 and you come out a little tipsy.
Yeah.
That's not necessarily a bad thing. But anyway,
No.
it's because every time you taste a wine from those grapes, you get it in an American oak and a French oak, and you're able to see how the wood creates a different product, a different tasting profile.
Oh, yeah.
Now, for that, did you have a preference, with the French oak versus the American oak?
I'll be honest and tell you, most of them, probably out of the 7, 5 of them, I preferred the American oak, and so did my wife, which I didn't think would happen if you asked me before I did that.
Well, after we did our, so we recently did a barrel pick over at Maker's Mark. I know you mentioned Maker's Mark earlier, but they do all these wood finishing like staves that they do in the barrels, and we got to actually take a look at the different woods that they're using there.
How dense
and the French oak is so much lighter compared to the dense American oak. I mean, it is just. You wouldn't even think they're the same wood.
Yeah, I think that well, as I mentioned, you guys should come up and pay a visit, because I'm putting together in this library. I've got the videos behind me, but we've got a pretty cool setup that's coming where we're going to have it full of hundreds, if not thousands, of different sorts of barrels of different variety of spirits. So if you walk in, you went and did a couple of different spirits experiences. We're going to open up the whole world of spirits, and I have different brands. So Hogsworth, which will be available only here in the beginning, is a bourbon brand finished in Armagnac casks, absolutely spectacular. I've got a Colombian spiced rum called Strongcock, my favorite, from just a having fun market. What's that?
That's what she said.
That's right.
That's what she said.
And that spiced rum from Colombia with uniquely invigorating Colombian herbs, all totally legal, but very, very like legit. Gives you a
legal in all 50 states.
I think so. Texas has always got tough rules with
everything
alcohol related. We've got Obadiah, which is a rum. That's what we're doing in Florida, rum agricole. But also with some really. But the idea is to create a very interesting experience. Which, if you're into spirits, you should come up and do a podcast here. We'll be opening on the 4th of July, and you'll be able to have run of the mill of the biggest variety of open casks ever presented in the world. No exaggeration there, combined with an ability to taste spirits that go back to 1868. So it'll be like nothing else. And if you come up, I'll show you the vineyards too.
Oh, we would love that. I would love to do that. Yeah, absolutely.
For sure.
That would be some good video content.
I want to talk about this 2707 a little bit because I'm really enjoying it.
Okay, before you
this
ask
is
your
spectacular
question.
stuff.
It really is.
Only 1,000 cases will ever be released. This is a one-time only. The label dies when this has gone away. It's a mislabeled product, actually 18 to 50 years old, 49 years old. The 90% Calvados, 10% Armagnac, finished in a Scotch casks. It's like a cocktail in a glass, doesn't require anything else, and it's some of the easiest drinking spirit available for under $100. And you can take advantage of the Frenchman's folly that this was mislabeled. But I told you what it is, and it's just, it's like a cocktail in a glass, right? You don't need to do anything here. You just drink this up, and there's no flavoring outside of pure, natural, unfiltered Armagnac and Calvados. And this is kind of just in the experimental range of mixing two of France's finest brandies, and again giving them that really quick kiss of Scotch. But what a nice apple nose, no?
Yeah, great finish. It really has a long finish for not being the oldest of the bunch. Even though there is some really old things in there.
27 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, while we're sipping on that, I'm going to ask you another question, Raj.
Oh,
and the
shit.
question is, we're going to fire through these other ones here in a second. Growing up, and I say growing up can get into your teenage years, but what is a childhood memory, growing up memory of a favorite food that you had at your house? Something that grandma made, something that mom made, could be, once a year, it was a special occasion.
Around Christmas time, my Aunt Rosie would make these amazing chocolate chip cookies, which I would devour and lose my appetite for Christmas. That's very clear.
There's nothing wrong with that.
You know how I know they were fantastic chocolate chip cookies? It took him no time to answer that question.
Yeah. Like some people really they pause.
They
and
got to think about,
man,
what did I eat back then? Yeah, that was pretty quick.
Yeah.
Go ahead with your question on the 27.
Oh, no. I was just going to say, I just more of a statement here, but that is just delightful. It just really is great. I'm a big fan of this, and considering, the price point is somebody who's getting into this world.
Oh yeah, this
is a bottle you can buy.
Oh yeah. No, and I think it's. Look, you can think it's. That they're basically already all sold. So, I don't have any self-interest in saying this is one of those that I expect this brand will be around for the long term, and we'll build it into an iconic brand. But this is one of those special release bottles that you should buy. One to stock and one to rock, really of all of them. But in particular, this one is something that you can get into for less than $100. And the bottle that you drink will pay for the bottle that you keep.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, talking about that. What's available now, and where is it distributed? Or do we have to go through the website to order what we want to get?
So if you... right now, we are available barrel 21 on the website. So if you go to Bhakta Spirits or BhaktaBrandy.com, you'll be able to order that barrel. You should be able to we're available in some retailers in California, New York, Florida, Colorado, Massachusetts, and that's about it right now. But you can buy it online. You can pick up some of the different barrels. The older ones are gone. Barrel 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, etc. But 2707, I think if you Googled it, you'd find a couple of retailers, Bhakta 27-07, and you could buy that. But the availability is limited and the volumes are really small here. I only have 38 barrels to last for a while, so we've been very carefully opening the distribution just to a couple of key places. But again, it's available online.
Perfect. And when do you expect the next release?
I'm going to start putting some vintages out shortly.
Okay.
For example, I think we'll have this available on the website, but you could buy an entire decade, of like the 90s for something in the $2,000 range.
So a whole vertical from 90 to 99, a whole vertical, $2,000.
Yeah, that's pretty
cool.
crazy.
That's cool.
I mean, you think about it, right? Yeah, and then you can get the 80s for, probably $3,000, where you can start picking up some additional bottles. So those will start going out shortly, because I think that's a really interesting way for people to get into the Armagnac category, because it's really the only category that you could actually put together, verticals relatively easily. Still, they'll be worth money. But you can still do that, and so that's the next thing, is letting the verticals out. And then here we're opening Griswold as a spirits experience this coming summer, where you'll be able to get the whole lineup, but that'll only be available here. That'll be the bourbon, the rum. I have a world whiskey project, which is, if I ask you what the best whiskey in the world is, and somebody says it's a Scotch, it's Macallan, it's Whistlepig, it's this or it's that, this allows people to combine some whiskeys from all around the world in one bottle, blended in such a way that it accentuates the best of each. That's a fun project.
That's awesome.
That'll be available here, and then slowly, becoming available online and in the country. We're going to get to Texas. Texas is a big market, but I have to have enough product to supply, the great Lone Star State.
Well, let me ask you this. We love all the spirits that are going to be coming out, and I'm looking forward to getting a couple of bottles. But when can we expect the Bhakta Maple?
That...
The syrup.
Oh, yeah. Did you get the Whistlepig maple syrup?
No.
I've tried it before. It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's really good. That came from the farm. The Bhakta maple syrup will be coming out and available in the store. Maybe we'll put a couple of bottles online. I should probably, like, sugaring season. That'll be this late this summer. That'll be maple finished in Armagnac.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
Boy, that'll be tasty.
I mean, but that would be good.
Really good.
Okay.
Really good.
You ready for another question?
I sure am.
Best decade for music, 70s, 80s, or 90s?
Oh, look, I was around listening to music in the 80s and the 90s, and those were my formative years. So I have to go. I mean, like, maybe some would say 70s is better, but I really wasn't paying attention. Now I have to pick between the 80s and the 90s of the best music. I would go with the 90s.
Okay. I'm not surprised, actually.
Yeah.
Are you a grunge guy?
No.
What genre in the 90s makes you go 90s?
You know what? I just think of, like, I'm so bad with, like, thinking of particular songs and stuff like that. Like, I remember sitting and listening to U2 just coming out as a kid in my dorm room, high school. And then, so I can't, like, I can't tell you, like, if you listen to my music thing, it goes from classical to, pop to, big band to, then it'll be 70s and 50s. So it's so all over the place, and I have a bad filing categorization system. So I'll leave it at, I like good music. No
There you
one.
go. I love that. I love that.
There you
I
go.
love music. I had the best taste in music, guys. It's been so nice being with you. So smart. My music taste is great.
I got to tell you, your impression is pretty
Yeah,
spot
not
on.
bad. It's not bad.
I'm not sure how long
Here,
you've worked at
let me see
this,
if I
but
can
you've
get it.
nailed it.
Rob and Carter, it's been great being with you. I can tell you're very smart because you're talking to me. You know, I'm thinking about a number of things. We're going to make brandy great again. It's going to be so great. I'll tell you why, because I'm doing it. People ask me how I got so smart. You have it or you don't. You guys have it because you're talking to me again. Not that I'm self-centered. There's a little bit more.
That's very good.
That's
I'm
pretty
impressed.
good. That's pretty
Again,
good.
not sure how long you worked at that, but you do it very well.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Raj, we appreciate you coming on the show. I know we went over the hour that we told you we would take from you, and but we've enjoyed the conversation and had a lot of fun. We're gonna close out with one last question, and this is everybody has a nightcap. That final pour of the evening. This is your final nightcap. You're gonna go up into the heavens and hang out with the angels. This is your last pour. What would it be for Raj Bhakta?
Oh, I mean, I would pour a nice big glass of my oldest vintage, which is from 1868, and it's absolutely spectacular. It's sinfully expensive, but the good news is in the Bhakta 50, which you can buy for $400, it's in there too. But it's the 1868.
Nice.
That's cool.
I had a feeling.
Yeah.
If I had access to that,
I mean,
it might be
old
my-
is not always good, but it sounds pretty good.
in the world of spirits. Absolutely. Well, Raj, we really enjoyed the conversation, and thanks for coming on. And don't be surprised if we take you up on coming up northeast a little bit and hanging out with you a little bit.
It's a sincere invitation. You have my contact information. It's been a pleasure, gentlemen. Thank you for your time, and God bless you and your listeners.
Thank you, Raj.
Thank you, Raj.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Well, thanks everybody for listening to this episode of Food, Wine, and Whiskey in Your Own Backyard. And until our next episode, enjoy your next pour.